I am a truth seeker. You know, 10 years ago, I would have been proud to say that. Within the last 5 years, it's almost become an embarrassment to even use the word truth in regards to anything. And I'm not just talking about what's happened with the election and all of that nonsense, the post-truth era or alternative facts. This is something that's been in the works for a long time, and it's nothing really new. We've always believed what we want to believe. As a society, we have the choice to decide what religion to believe in, which politicians to believe, which side to take. And we do our best to make decisions that are in our own best interests. But often we are led astray by family and friends who we believe may have more credibility than they actually do when it comes to the subject at hand, which comes down to authority and who do you trust. But as for the path of a seeker, which is, I guess, a good term, I've always been interested in having the truth, but not just for truth's sake. And I think this is a big hang-up in today's world. The entire, let's just say the conspiracy side of YouTube, for example. I remember my first interaction with the idea of the Illuminati was in 1996. So generally we didn't even have internet yet, and there was no YouTube or chat sites talking about this. It was just reading books. And I was fascinated with secret societies and trying to understand why the world was the way it was and what was going on behind the scenes. And back then it was for the sake of how interesting it was and fascinating, and I got very engulfed in it. And years later I was able to process a lot of it and realize, sure, a lot of it's true, a lot of things we've been lied to about a lot. Our own government is tested on its own citizens. It goes on and on and on. But at least within the last 10 years, I've learned to just let go of that. I can't change history, I can't prove history, but in the end, does it even help me to know these things? And the reason I'm telling you this is because there are many others out there who are perhaps younger or on similar paths who are trying to understand the world. And it's easy to get wrapped up in other people's versions of what's going on. The alternative media and how every single news story that happens, for example, somebody always has a different spin on it. Everything seems to be faked today. Everybody's an actor. And it's because, for a lot of people, it helps us understand the world better to believe that everything is really set in stone. Or that everything is planned out and that nothing happens by chance, that we're living on a flat earth under a dome and that life is just dandy. These don't answer any of the bigger questions. We're still immersed in this world. So the thing about my seeking of truth, and the reason why I'm talking about this, is because I'm asking myself why, over the past few years, why I have been so fascinated with learning, and why that's always been my thing. I love to learn, I love to educate myself. Why do I want to know the truth about every subject? And it's multifaceted, but the main reason is because it helps me lead a better life and make decisions which are compatible with my own best interests. If we're ignorant of things, then we make decisions which may screw us over. If we think that the grass is greener on the other side, we might go there and find out it's AstroTurf, fake grass. There are so many different things for us to understand, and it's only the wisdom of life and experience that can help us to not make stupid errors. So, is there a natural state for man? It's one of the questions that I often ask. Is there a natural state beyond what we've learned in our learned experiences and our learned morals? As I mentioned before, I've been pondering over the years, why do I feel like it's good to do this and bad to do that? Those types of things are the ones that have helped me say, well, I'm giving value to these behaviors, ideas. An example would be even taking kratom. For any man of the past, taking a kratom leaf would be like, wow, there's a leaf from this tree, helps get rid of my pain, this is amazing. And they continue to use it, probably take it daily and not think much of it. But in today's world, we have something to compare it to. We have preconceived notions about opiates and the dangers, and so it gets wrapped up and tied into the as being this big dangerous thing. It's not the greatest example, but I could come up with a lot more of them, of course. But we tend to blow things out of proportion and not understand things because we base it on what we already have known in the past, and that's not always the best answer. Anyhow, it's curious because, as I was saying, I don't seek truth just for truth's sake. And a lot of people seem to want to outdo each other with, oh, I know this and I know this. It's just great, you know. How is it helping you is always the question that I ask. But for myself, I'm inquisitive even about myself and my own intentions. And I ask, why am I so interested in all these things? And where did it start? And I've always been interested since I was young. But I think it wasn't until probably I was about 15 when I tried LSD that everything kind of turned upside down. I started seeing that, you know, I remember being at a park one day and looking down at this flower and looking up close and just watching it just dissect in front of me and understanding the components and how they go together. It's nothing you can express or explain to anyone. It's a feeling you get of understanding, and perhaps not complete understanding so much as it's kind of difficult to explain, but it's not seeing and understanding things as much as even questioning why things are the way they are. You ask basic questions you never asked, like if atoms are all empty space, what am I walking on, and is everything electrical in nature, and you start becoming more and more interested. For me, I read a book called The Psychedelic Experience, which was based on the Tibetan Book of the Dead by Timothy Leary and Ralph Metzner, I think when I was about 18, 19. And I was like, it was all about setting for a proper psychedelic experience. And, you know, I'm bringing psychedelics in because they were such a huge part of why I started seeking knowledge and truth. You can't get truth from psychedelics. You can only ask questions, and then you have to live your life to answer those questions. So it's taken me 25 years to understand these things and try to even begin to understand these things. Mostly is, what is the natural state of man? Is immaturity subjective, for example? You know, I get to a certain point and people might tell others, hey, grow up, you know, come on, you're an adult now. And I'm like, and I pick things like that apart. Like, well, what is this person doing that's childish? Oh, they're still going out and traveling a lot, or they're still skateboarding, or, you know, we get caught up in our images and our impressions of what being an adult is, and lose our child wonder and leave it behind for this adult life that doesn't really exist. You know, these are the things that can frustrate, but it's rewarding to be aware. And so for me, truth is a general idea. It's not about specific events. It's not about who killed JFK. It's not about whether or not the Illuminati still exist. These are things out of my control. No, truth is about what facts can I learn that really move me and make me feel good. Not, ooh, or, you know, a fearful or even just asking more questions, but to each his own. I'm not saying people shouldn't look into things like, you know, the conspiracy world is fascinating. There's so much corruption, so many scandals out there, but it's like a faction of humanity that just is there. One of the most valuable lessons I've learned is if something sounds too good to be true, it usually is. Time and time again, you know, this is where we get ourselves in trouble. We want a quick answer and a quick solution to things, so thinking that we can just go take a class or a weekend retreat somewhere and that it's going to teach us, you know, how to find ourselves or our true purpose in the universe is just more than ludicrous. It's just absurd. But a compilation of those events interspersed with actual putting to work the things that we've learned in our lives, which is a crucial thing a lot of people overlook. You know, you can't just learn something in a book as well as you can actually apply it, and that's the only way you're going to remember it. And so we might read, oh yes, this is what I should be doing with my life, or this is the best way to interact with people. But if you're not utilizing it, then it's a wasted tool. So it's my long way of saying, use it, or find knowledge you can actually use, and I can't say it enough. And another important thing is to observe, and this is what I've been doing for so long, and why it's taken me on so many turns. Observe, observe, observe. People are doing. There are so many different people out there doing different types of things. I'm not talking about like people watching, but rather intention watching, if you will, seeing what people are really up to, not what the media is telling you or what others tell you about people, but what you can see and feel and understand yourself. And I think being open-minded is a very useful tool. It's probably the most useful tool we can have, is being positive and open-minded. But at the same time, it allows us to fall into pits if we can't handle it. It's like a burden, because we have to decide what is sufficient evidence to actually believe something. And I've seen time and time again that people will get to the point where they actually don't believe anything. I mean, I've had so many debates with people trying to talk sense into them when they say that, this conspiracy and that this never happened, and I say, wait, back up, You have to understand Occam's razor. It's not always correct, but usually the simplest answer is the right one. But not always, so we have to look at the evidence, and then people end up just shutting down. They don't want to talk about it. They want to believe what they want to believe, and so be it, but they end up accusing other people of being ignorant or stupid, or do your research. No matter how much research you do, somebody will always say, well, those people are just lying, and science is lying. And that's what I mean about saying that we don't trust anyone. We have to look metaphorically or literally the people in the eyes who are giving us this information and say, are they legit? Do they seem legit? If you trust your own intuition with people, then you should be able to watch a person speak and know if they're completely full of shit. It's not always accurate. But once you've heard enough people talk about, for example, on the issue of whether the climate is warming, not whether humans have caused it, but if you have, 100 scientists that have spent their life dedicated to saying, yes, temperatures are rising and the planet is warming, regardless of the cause. And then you have, a few over here, like 2 or 3, who are saying, nope, it's not true at all, it's not happening. Look, there's more ice than ever. There are still people who will believe the 3 supposed experts, and they may be partially right, and that's a good example, because surface ice can be larger, while glacial ice can actually be shrinking at the same time. And in the process, we have to trust someone. That's what I'm saying. So no matter how smart we think we are, no matter how much of a truther we think we are, we only get our truth from other people unless we see it ourselves. And the irony of alternate media a lot of the time is that they're constantly talking about these stories which are fake, but they're finding the stories through the media outlets that they claim are faking them, and then giving their own spin on this supposed fake story, and it confuses people, and I find it to be a big issue. So that's what I come down to, the ethos, pathos, and logos, Aristotelian type argument, or to understand people, how convincing are they? Is the argument even worth the time? And is the person a person who has done research like this in the past? What credentials do they have? And I think an important thing is to choose our authority wisely, is what I'm saying. And look for their intent. We have to know a little bit about people to do that. Our brains all perceive things differently. I'll just say briefly, everything we look at, we all perceive differently because of our past experiences. And so we have to remember that within each other. So because of that, we're likely to see things that we manifest in our lives or that we want to see. So it's very important that we train our brains to lasso in things and look for patterns that we're actually able to use in our lives. And that's why I think understanding other people helps us understand ourselves, and then we can lead better lives. So to finalize this, I would like to say that, I guess if I were to say, why do I seek the truth? It's to, it's because I care, and because I want my life to be, I don't know, as enjoyable as possible, and as well those around me, to not be, because you can enjoy your life until screw everybody else's life up around you if you're not careful. But the only reason for caring is to have a better life. A better life here. For some people, on a totally separate note, you know, for some people, living a better afterlife is the most important thing, and I think that there's a big hang-up on that, because if we're willing to let our current world fall apart because it's just the will of God, and hoping for a better life afterwards, then we're acting very primal and selfish. We really do. We are caretakers of this planet and each other. That means we respect each other's emotions, our each other's intentions. Don't be rude to one another just to be rude, you know? I consider myself a nice guy, and I'm pretty patient, but I do not put up with people's bullshit. You know, I'm quick to just snap right back at somebody who has something stupid to say. I don't play mind games or the, hey man, be peaceful. It's like, you know, I act upon how I feel, but I'm in control of my emotions. So emotional baggage can hold us down. Mental baggage can hold us down. The best we can do is be open-minded and have open hearts, and lead the best lives that we can. So thanks for listening. I hope I didn't bore you too much, but if I did, tough shit. It's just how it is, right?